What does it mean to master the game of life? Like any game, it requires a fundamental understanding and application of the rules. But living in today's on-demand society is making this nearly impossible, as our attention is increasingly being fought over and monetized by others. Will Moore's mission is to help you hit the reset button by providing a new set of game rules based on time-proven universal principles and modern science to gamify your life by making it fun and addictive to replace your habits in the 5 core areas of your life proven to lead to true happiness. Ready, player one?
Good to see you, man. Thanks
Hey, how are you?
for joining us today.
Yeah, happy to, man. I sent the request. I don't know why these things take forever.
We're here, yeah.
We're here.
Technology,
Sorry about that.
while very helpful, can be an absolute, you know what, sometimes. But hey, the fact that we can do this, I mean, it's pretty cool, so you can't complain, right? And I always have, it's actually, this is not, it's
That's
not
right. Thanks for having me.
commonplace. So I have my guy, what's up, Glass, listening right now. He'll cut out usually that beginning part and he'll jump right into it because that's what people want to hear. So speaking of which, let's jump right into it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Ken, who you are, how you got here. Give us the 3-minute version of what brought you to this point and what you're doing to try to help people change their lives, build momentum.
Yeah, I got to say real quick, hello, Hampton Roads, Virginia. That's my growing up spot. So that was cool to see, as right as you brought me in. You know, I'm a dude who has been married almost 25 years to Stacy. I'm the dad to 3 teenagers, 17 and 2 14-year-olds. And professionally, I am a coach who exists for one reason, and that's to help people see and reach their potential. In other words, I just believe we were all created to relate and create. And that's love and work. And love and work have the same result. It's about giving ourselves away. And so I just believe every person on the planet has a contribution that they're supposed to make. In other words, a difference that they want to make. And so the searing question that I'm always trying to stick in the minds of anybody that I have the opportunity to connect with, whether it be one-on-one or speaking in front of large crowds or on my daily show, whether it be radio, Sirius XM, podcast, YouTube, I'm trying to get them to answer the question, what is my unique difference? How am I different than everybody else on the planet? And what am I supposed to do with that? So am I making the difference I was born to make is the searing question. And so I do it through all those formats, including writing books and here on social media. So that's really who I am. How I got here is simply that I was on purpose a young kid that was highly ambitious through immaturity and felt a very clear calling in my life to serve people. I thought it was going to be in politics and was on that path until my early 30s when I realized that that was in fact not the path. And that stunned me. And it led to a season of about 2 to 4 years of languishing in confusion and frustration. And then when I finally got dug deep into who I was and the similarities to one path that I thought I was going to be on and to the path that I felt my heart pulling me to. I didn't have any tools. I said, I want to create tools, but more importantly, I want to create a conversation. I want to meet people right there in that moment because we only have one life. And I know this, that success has nothing to do with achievement. It has everything to do with results that we put into the world that help people. So that's my
Well, that's
answer
a good
to that
answer.
question.
So yeah, you know, it is, I've interviewed a lot of different people and it's funny. I mean, clearly if you call it a calling, everybody calls it, has a slightly, or I should say there's different words for it. For me, I just say, I woke up one day, I had a business and I was doing, I started off kind of with a rough start. Had a tough childhood, suicidal by college, and then I kind of was able to serendipitously, I was introduced to self-help books by one of my professors, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll check this out. I got nothing to lose, and I kind of began my journey and started building up and up, and then I got to a point where I was you know, firing on all cylinders. I was having success in my career, my finances, my relationships, my physical health, my emotional health, my mindset was strong. And I sold my business, and it was like, holy cow, now what? And it was like, again, this calling, it wasn't even a question of what people were like, what are you going to do next? And it was like, I knew what I had to do next. And it was like, I wanted to take all this stuff that I've been doing over the last 25 years and helping myself and developing this system and all these notes and just kind of figuring out what works, what doesn't work in the universe, and developing my own habits and turning them into something that can help people. And I think it definitely helped. You mentioned you have kids. Your kids are older. I've got a 6, a 3, and a 6-month-old, 3 boys. And you know how it is, man. As soon as they're born, you're like, it changes your perspective. It's almost like, I feel like, in a way, everybody should have that experience, but at the same time, not everybody, you know, should be a parent. So, but yeah, I mean, it's like you once you get that whole, like, life is so much better when you're working every day to try to, like, for good and to help people versus try to screw people out of their money and cheat them and these things. It's pretty cool. And especially when you start, you know, you put all this time and effort into it. And a lot of times, as you know, it doesn't pay off and you don't see results, but it's the law of compounding. And you slowly start doing things and certain things start hitting, and then just one person says, oh my gosh, you helped me. And then it's more people. And then you can't replace that with any amount of money, right?
No. And I think you've nailed it. You know, you and I have both been able to achieve some cool stuff. A lot of people watching here are very successful in their particular path of life. And so here's one thing we all realize: once we get to a place that we really longed to get to, so ambition and achievement come together, and we kind of make that moment happen, that milestone is reached. And sometime after the fact that we are exhilarated, we are proud of ourselves, we've been celebrated by those who love us and are with us on the journey, there's kind of this moment of realization that I'm still kind of the same person. Yes, I did something worthwhile to me, but it's less about the accomplishment and the achievement, and what you see is it's the result of it. So it might be personal growth. Like, if you set out to run a marathon and it was excruciatingly difficult, it's not that you finished.
Yeah.
It's who you became in the process. And you know, I remember the first time I became a best-selling author, and I'll just be very transparent here. I dreamed about that. And about 30 minutes later, after I was on the road in Oregon, and I woke up to my phone buzzing like crazy, Will, and it was like, oh, and I was on West Coast time, and on East Coast timers were blowing me up, going, congratulations. And so I called my wife first, and we had a sweet moment of gratitude. And then I replied to the emails and the text and everything. And it was about 30 minutes later, I was like, oh, I got to get in the shower. I got to get ready. I got a book signing where I'm going to meet real people who I'm getting the chance to pour into. And, I'm still the same Ken. My life is not in any way measurably better because now I can say I'm a best-selling author. Like, nobody really cares.
It's so true, Ken. And it's like, you get that. It's exactly what happened to me when I sold my business. It's like and I think it's not our fault. This is a combination of our DNA and our evolution of, like, wanting that, thinking that big payoff and wanting more and more and more stuff, which helped us survive and not get eaten by saber-toothed tigers thousands of years ago. And a combination of, the society that we live in. I mean, good God. Capitalism, like, that is what it's not part of our society. That is our society. Like, go to school, you know, figure out what trade you're going to do, get a job, make a lot of money. And all that stuff is just so antiquated and outdated. And yes, money is career and finances. As I said, it's one of your cores. It is important, but it's like, what is your career in your finance? Like, what is your career? What are you doing? How are you expressing it? Are you enjoying what you're doing? Are you helping people? Are you combining your passions and your strengths and these types of things? And then when the money comes, oh man, that's when it's sweet. But then when it does come, you know, we all build this like, if only I can get to here. And it's okay, because it's good to have goals. But as long as you know, this is what I tell everybody, and you just hit it on the head right here. When you hit that goal, you're not going to sit on a beach drinking pina coladas for the rest of your life. That's not how it works. You're going to pick the next goal, right? And that's what happiness is. It's continually growing. It's right? And it's like, okay, yeah, I wanted to be Wall Street Journal. That was a huge goal. It felt great when I sold my business. Can't even tell you how good it felt. And I was just on a high for a week or two. But then, okay, now what? What's next? Like, I've hit this milestone in my goals, and now I need to keep going, right?
Yeah, I think if I were going to sum up what you're saying, and it's really deep, and I think this is what I want our audience to really grab, is when we make money, there's a great guy by the name of Rabbi Daniel Lappin, this Jewish rabbi. This dude just spits gold anytime I'm around him, and I'm going to borrow this from him. But, you know, when customers, they show their appreciation with a certificate of appreciation in the form of a dollar bill, right? And so when we make money, be careful to understand what it is. It is validation, yes, no question. It is a customer or the world, the reality of validating. So when you sold your company, massive validation. However, it does not in any way substitute for contribution. And so after you sell that company and you revel in that success and you go take some time off and maybe you reset, let me just tell you something. The human spirit, the soul, longs, needs
God,
contribution.
I love that. Yeah, I don't hear that. I love that. I love to use that word again. Like, there's so many different ways to look at I call them total truths, universal principles. Even that word has a lot of different ways. But what you just said, that has been true since the beginning of mankind. That will be true until we destroy ourselves. Hopefully not, if we get it right. And you can hang your hat on that, right? Meaning, like, if you develop your life around that particular principle and your habits and what you're doing, like, you can't go wrong. But if you ignore that one, you're in trouble.
You'll be wandering your entire life. You know, what's funny is we're born as wanderers. You're smack in the middle of this, man. Like, this is your life. You live with little wanderers. I think you said a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 6-month-old. Yeah, bro. Like, you are surrounded by what is best. I think one of the things that is best about human nature, and that is we are curiosity machines. Why, Daddy? You explain it. That leads to another why. It feels like right now when you're in the middle of this, at times, like, come on, this is a nuisance. They're just asking me question after question. Oh my gosh. And you know what's funny is they're not trying to annoy you. They're trying to get to the bottom of everything, because when you're 6 and 3, every day you are encountered by something that is wonderful. You know, we've taken that word and we've thought, oh, this is wonderful. You know, and that's how we use it in a sentence. And that's really what it is. And we lose sight of that the older we get. You know, we are creatures of wonder. Like, I wonder why that is a thing. And I wonder how that works. And I wonder why Dad makes me do this. I wonder why he makes me brush my teeth. You know, everything, no matter how mundane or simple it is, the human condition is to wonder what it is, why it is, what could be, watch this progression, what should be, and that ultimately leads to conviction as we get older, what must be. But there is no what must be until I embrace what could be, what should be, you know. And so I don't want to get too deep into this, because I nerd out on this, but I
get nerdy.
Well, here's the deal. So here's the flip side of that. Our education system in the Western Hemisphere unintentionally beats that wonder out of us. And we go from wondering to wandering. And wandering is nothing more than, just keeping it in the context of this conversation, about purpose and contribution and difference making. The reason we all want to make a difference is because we are just creatures of curiosity, and we're always wondering, why does this problem exist? And so that speaks to who we are. So when we aren't wondering and we lose sight of that, so you sell a company, well, boy, you better get back on that wonder train. I wonder what's next, right? That's the question that really is at the heart of this. And when we don't answer that question, here's what happens. We begin to wander. We wander into substance abuse. We wander into affairs. We wander into bad business ideas. Why? Because we're searching for that dopamine instead of searching for significance. True success is measured by significance. So you as a human are significant. The janitor is as significant as the CEO. I believe that. But significance then must be, what significant results do I want to produce in the world? And that speaks to, I see it making a difference in the lives of others, and I actually care deeply about that difference. So that's what I'm about, is helping people see that. And so now all of a sudden it reframes work. Work is not something I do to live. I live to do it. And it's wholesome, and it's beautiful, and it's not workaholic, and I'm taking my entire identity. It has nothing to do with identity. It has everything to do with me making a significant contribution.
I love that. Wondering versus wondering. Yeah, I hadn't heard that, I don't think, which is, to me, as soon as I heard that, I immediately went to, again, that's a universal principle that you can hang your hat on. And the way I say it, which is, it's always good to it's cool how people's brains work, but we get to the same conclusion, is, like when I'm helping people, I say that, you know, there's these three parts. There's, first, you have to become aware. Then you have to learn what actions to take based on that awareness, meaning like, okay, who am I? What am I here for? Like, what's important to me in my core human being? Like, where do I want to end up at the end of the day? What are these main areas of my life that I want to make sure I'm growing in? And it all revolves around this ABG. So like, you're wondering versus wandering, like, it's about growth, but it's not just about taking action. It's about taking action on the right things, and taking action on the things that matter most to you and will move the needle in your life and your happiness, right? And then I think where most people then get stuck is, even if they get to that place where they can figure out, okay, this is who I am, this is the direction I want to head, they don't have a system to do it. And let's get into that a little bit. Because to me, that's where I'm seeing this major breakdown in society right now, where the good news is I see a lot more people, and I'm sure you're noticing this too, because you're in the space, like getting into wellness and wanting to make themselves better. And there's always been that, but right now it's kind of having a resurgence with social media and stuff. A lot of the popular videos are, you know, they're feel good, and they're about uplifting and you know, helping people to take those right actions and the things that'll make them happy. The problem is, you see that, you get excited for like a second, or you feel hope, you feel motivation, whatever it is, until you scroll to the next video of, you know, the clown who's standing on a monkey's head twirling a baton. You're like, oh my God, that's great. Right? And then you completely forget about what you just saw. And so I think that ADD is ADHD, you know, I have it, my son has it. I think a lot of people, for the most part, have at least some degree of it. And I think it's becoming very commonplace, where our society and technology is set up to really just, our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, right? So what is the system? I want to hear your system, how you get people from saying, okay, this is where you are now, we're going to get you to this place where you're wondering instead of wandering, and you're going to actually move the needle in your life.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. And I have a clear path that I wrote about in From Paycheck to Purpose. That is a clear path to discovering and doing what you were created to do. However, at the heart of your question, I think therein lies a lot of the problem, is that we have a lot of systems and hacks and things. And I think it's just one thing. And it is, you know, hope deferred makes the heart sick. And we have a soul sickness in this world. And what I mean by soul sickness is we know so many things about so many things, but we don't know ourselves. And I'm going to tell you, to me, it is a intentional simplification of, we start with understanding with extreme clarity who we are. I was born with talent. Now, I can hone that talent into some very sharpened skills. Think power tools, right? I come in with a talent which is a handsaw, and through education and experience, not necessarily traditional education, I've got to always point that out, but by learning and doing, the handsaw turns into a power saw, okay? So we start with, every human being comes into this planet with talent, okay? Now we go to, every human being has a heart. And we're not talking about the physical nature of the heart. We're talking about the spiritual nature of the heart, okay? And I mean, listen, even my atheist friends can't argue with me on this one, because the heart is meaning that I have a soul, I have a longing, I have desire. It is not just a blood pumping machine. It also is the center of my being, my soul. I long, love, passion, desire. It all is centered in the heart, all right? So it is undeniable that there are just certain things as we begin to navigate life that it becomes very aware to us that we are very much alive when reading or learning or listening or watching or engaging in something. All right, now there's one other element. So we've talked about talent, and we've talked about the heart, which I'm talking about passion. It's just hardwired into us. And then there's a third element, and it is that we are all drawn to results, things that we do. We don't even have to be told to do it. I call this mission, a sense of mission. In other words, there are results that motivate us naturally. Real motivation doesn't require any external force at all. That's manipulation. True motivation, from psychology, we know this. There are 6 intrinsic forms of motivation, and it's all related to results. So when we can get clear on who we are with those 3 elements, and so that's talent, passion, and a sense of mission. Let me give it to you in real street language. What you do best, what you love to do, and results that matter to you. Let me say it again, because folks, I'm simplifying in one sentence one of the scariest, most intimidating words in the world, and that's purpose. What is my purpose? Scary as
people shy away from that because it just sounds so intimidating.
But I'm going to put it on the bottom shelf right now. Your purpose is to use what you do best, to do what you love, to produce results that matter deeply to you. I'm going to say it again. Write it down. Share it. Give me credit, though, please.
Yeah, that's
because I've never heard it worded this way. My purpose is to use what I do best, to do what I love, to produce results that matter to me. Let me tell you something. That gets back to where we started the conversation. So, having said that, extreme clarity on who I am informs everything else. Clarity on who I am gives me direction on what I want to do, where I want to do it, why I want to do it, how I want to do it. But no technique. And listen, I'm all for health and wellness, and I'm all for, I use a counselor. I believe in it. But I don't want to oversimplify and say that understanding yourself the way I just laid out is not the silver bullet to your marriage problem. It's not the silver bullet to your relationship or parenting problems. It's not the silver bullet to everything. But I'm going to tell you this, a person who knows who they are, what they want to do, where they want to do it, why they want to do it, how they want to do it, let me tell you something. They're better in their relationship life because they're not dragging all that crap home with them. They're not trying to medicate. They're better physically. They're better mentally. And so I just think we have a plague, Will, of people who just don't know who they are. And they're trying to be somebody else.
That's exactly right. It ties into what I was just saying, and I think social media is compounding all that for sure, because
big time.
Teen suicide's at an all-time high, especially for females. And there's a reason, because these they see what, and what I've noticed is a trend that's starting that is helping hopefully to offset this. But girls posting like 1 second later like their perfect bodies, and then not retouched or anything, just like letting their stomach hang out or adjusting their pants to show like there's actually a lot of fat here, and this is the real me, and I just totally tricked you, and so beware of this is what's happening out there. And people and that's our nature too, right? You want to put your best foot forward on social media, but now with technology advancing, and you can do just about anything, including like put somebody else's face on your own, right? So people don't really know what they're seeing is real. And even when it was real, people are just going to show the absolute best moment or best shot, and that's not real either. And so it's like to try to compare yourself and say, I need to be like this. I need to look like this. I need to be successful like this person. And then, like you said, then you're just wandering because you're just chasing. You're chasing what seems like you should do without like putting it together for yourself of your three, which it's funny, I use similar, I say, right, purpose is, I didn't put the results one, but I always say it's not rocket science. Figure out what you absolutely love, your passions, combine it with your strengths, the things you're naturally good at, right? And that's where you get started. That's the direction. And then figure out what field you can do, like is it being an entrepreneur, is it working for someone, whatever it is, and that'll change too, your path. But as long as you're incorporating those things, the worst thing you can do to yourself is get a job or surround your life every day with something that you're not great at and you don't enjoy. I can't imagine a worse fate. That's like purgatory, yet a lot of us do it. And a lot of us we may not be miserable, right? I call it kind of hovering above rock bottom in your best life. It's like you're not maybe miserable, and there's perks like, I like to go in the office and I can chat and stuff, but it's like, but are you really living your purpose, right? Are you really?
Yeah, I got to tell you, I actually think that a lot of people are miserable. I don't think. I think there's forms of misery, and then I think there's languishing where you're just trying to survive.
Sure.
I think that's a form of it. I think there's true misery. And, what I've learned from coaching over 5,000 people live on the air, where you got 5 or 6 minutes and you gotta dig quick. I've learned how to develop a scalpel quickly to get to somebody's heart. What's the question behind the question? And I will tell you that the human condition is one that we would rather be miserable than uncomfortable, because uncomfortable represents the fear of the unknown. In order for us to move forward, we're going to always have to be stepping into certainly versions of unknowns. And we kind of like the devil we know, right? The crappy boss, crappy environment, toxic coworkers. We're miserable, but by golly, we know what to expect, and we've managed to survive this long. And we've really come up with a great medication process by what we're watching and doing after hours, because we're not growing. We're just trying to medicate, and we're drinking our face off on Friday night. And boy, what this really amounts to is a life of deep frustration, and I dare say true misery, because we're simply existing. We're not contributing.
You know what? Right. Languishing is a form of misery, and people just don't. Kind of where I was getting to is they convince themselves that languishing's okay, right? And they're like,
100%.
Well, I got a nice car, and I live in a nice neighborhood, and yeah, I go to work 12 hours a day and don't really like what I do and commute. A great
Yeah, I've got a great 401k.
They justify it, right?
I mean,
you said something earlier that kind of was parallel to this, where clients, I think you said clients pay us to show us that they appreciate our service with dollars, right? Just like that. That's how we validate our worth and our happiness. But at the end of the day, you can't trick that human spirit. You can't trick what's in there, right? So you can try to convince yourself all day long, but deep down, and that's where I got these cores. It's like, if you don't have your mindset working for you, if you don't have your relationships going, you know, whatever that means to you, and these all mean different things to different people. There's no like universal, but there are universal areas of our life that we want to make sure that we're, you know, balancing and growing in, you know, physical health, emotional health. And it's like, you can't ignore the other ones and just focus on the career and finance. It's okay and I always tell people, like, to me, especially as an entrepreneur, because that's what I've always been. I got fired from every job I tried to do. I have a problem with being able to take instructions from people, because I'm always like, I can do it better, right? And so I did. I started my own company. It was like a restaurant delivery service, somewhere like a Grubhub or a DoorDash, but before those guys, Uber Eats. And we did it, and we built it from scratch, and we ended up having all these branches. We sold it for a very large chunk in 2019. And I was like, I know I can do it better than what's out there, right? And everybody has that in them, in terms of like, okay, I know I can do it better. But you alluded to it, or you even said it a couple minutes ago, fear. You gotta figure out how to take that fear, that voice that's going, no, you can't. Like, are you kidding? What are you gonna quit your job? Don't go cold turkey, quit your job, and now all of a sudden you can't feed your family. But if you want to be happy eventually and really fulfill that, again, lack of a better word, purpose, you've got to like get your side hustle going, figure out on the side, because you love it and you're passionate about it, so it won't feel like work anyways. And just start kind of developing that. That's what I did with this business. Originally, I was in real estate, and I was just like, I know there's a better way to do this. We were stuck on the phone for 12 hours a day in an office. We weren't even allowed to really get up and pee because the phones were ringing off the hook. They would order in food for the whole office, and it would be like pizza or Chinese at the time. People forget, but up until about 12 years ago, that's all we had was pizza and Chinese to order. It's kind of crazy to think about now, because you look, and I was like, there's got to be a better alternative, because I was working out, I was trying to be healthy, and it's like all of a sudden I'm eating pizza every day. Like, no. And I don't cook. I didn't want to bring my own lunch, so it's out there. It's in all of us, but you got to look at your fear, and you got to give it the finger and be like, dude, you're just hitting here trying to stop me, but I'm going to figure out a way.
Yeah. You know, I'm glad you bring this up. I'd love to just share something that I've learned in my own life about fear and doubt. First of all, I want to give context to fear and doubt, and I want to add another one in there that we don't think about. I think there's three basic enemies of progress, Will. Fear, doubt, and pride. So here's how I define them. Okay. Fear is, I'm worried that something bad will happen. Doubt is, I don't believe that something good can happen. And pride is, I'm more worried about what other people will say about me than what I believe about me.
That's good. That's really good.
Okay. I'm just telling you now. Now, I define those quickly just to kind of give you all separate context, because those are three very different voices. Now, and they manifest in multiple ways, and I could go deep on all that stuff. There's specific fears and specific doubts and specific voices of pride in all three areas. But here's what I want you to know. If you are right now experiencing fear, doubt, and pride, you're worried that something bad is going to happen, fear. You don't believe something good can happen, doubt. And you're more worried about what other people will say about you than you care. Actually, this is the real way to say it. You care more about what others are going to say about you or might say about you than what you believe about you. Then here's what I'm telling you. You're in a right place. You are either thinking, dreaming, feeling about moving forward, or you are in the process of moving forward. Here's what does not happen. The voices of fear, doubt, and pride never show up for people who are sitting on the bleachers elbow deep in a bag of popcorn. They don't experience fear, doubt, and pride. So number one, let yourself off the hook. You're not weak. You're not some neurotic puddle. You're actually a human with that heart we talked about very early on in our conversation. Your spirit is alive. A spirit that is not engaged, a spirit that is dead, cannot and will not experience fear, doubt, and pride. But a soul, a spirit, a heart, a human that is longing for a better future naturally will be confronting every day a form of fear, doubt, and pride. So the reason, yeah, somebody just said the man in the arena, baby, the greatest excerpt of a speech ever given by Teddy Roosevelt. I have a gigantic 8 feet by 10 foot painting of Teddy Roosevelt outside of my studio that I see every day. And so I saw somebody say that because I have ADHD, high functioning, so I can talk, make a point, and read comments at the same time. And so there you go. But I want to land this plane. When you understand that fear, doubt, and pride are the price of admission for being in the arena of life, now they're not so daggum annoying. Now we go, okay, how do I process fear, doubt, and pride? And the simplest illustration that I can give is that I believe that you need to put it on the witness stand. What is the voice of fear telling you? What is the voice of doubt telling you? What is the voice of pride telling you? And you put it on the witness stand, because there are times where it is telling us the truth and it is protecting me. If I get close to a cliff, Will, right, and I look over and all of a sudden I'm hit with a pang of fear, that's real, baby. And it is telling me, back up, you moron, you could die. Okay? But if I strategically and smartly launch a side hustle, if the voice of fear is telling me that I'm going to be a source of humiliation for all my friends and family, and I will be destitute living under a bridge, well, that's lying to you. Fear's holding you back because you're not taking that big of a risk that's going to ruin your life. That's just a quick sample of, we put the voice of fear on the witness stand. Is it telling me the truth and protecting me, or is it lying to me and holding me back? And I just, you know, we got to first start with, it's okay. Don't be ashamed of fear. Don't be ashamed of doubt. Right. Don't be ashamed of pride. Let it work on you like a blacksmith works on this inanimate piece of iron, and through pounding and extreme heat shapes it into something that is going to do good. And so fear and doubt and pride, if we push through them and we act, then we're going to come out on the other side, forged by fire and force, and do something good. We just need more people understanding how to process those voices,
and more people having systems to understand how to do it, right? Versus, again, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, just it kills me. There's a lot of people in the space of what we're doing. I don't even like to use a word to call what we're doing, because I feel like there's still a negative stigma on the words like self-help, and I guess wellness is getting better. But when I was younger and I was getting into this stuff, like the word self-help was very had a negative connotation, and that is like, oh, you read self-help books, or like, what are you, like, is your brain broken? Like, what's wrong with you, right?
Right. Well, you know, you can't give what you don't have. Right. And so we need to get over this whole stigma, because the stronger I am, the healthier I am, the clearer I am, the greater value I can provide. So
we're wrapping to the end. Somebody had a good question, but you were on a bender in a good way. You were on a roll.
Yeah, and I got about 2 minutes before I got to go. I'm live in 30 minutes, so I've got about 2 to 5 minutes before I got to
bolt and
get ready to do a live show.
And then we'll hop up. Ethan Coley, 30. How do you overcome when you're getting by in a commission-only job and barely getting by? I feel like I'm stuck. Any advice on that?
Okay, first of all, let's talk about mindset in your question. You're not stuck. You're scared.
Right.
And that's what's going on. Okay, I'm not making the kind of money that I feel like I should have been making. I'm not making enough money to have the margin that I want. And so I'm starting to freak out, man. Okay, let's just own it. And it's okay to be scared. It means you care, right? As we were just talking about. But before you quit, see, the default mode is, well, I need to quit. Well, there's a framework, okay? Why would I quit? Well, I'm not making enough money. Well, why aren't you making enough money? You're straight commission, so that is scary, and it takes a little bit of time, but are you not making enough because your expectations are outsized? Meaning your expectations are ahead of a realistic timeline. I've done straight commission. I don't care what it is, how many leads you get, it's going to take time to develop it. So do I need to stay the course a little bit longer is the first question. How can I improve and get better? Because while I am feeling limited in my straight commission job, the reality is you're not limited. The very idea of straight commission is there's no lid. So I want to ask the question, if I'm feeling about quitting, if I feel like quitting right now, I want to go, well, why would I quit? Where would I quit to?
Hey, Ethan, this is just responding to you. I don't want to quit. My friends and family want me to, but I see the potential income.
Oh, great. Okay. This is what, when I'm on the phone with people, I get all this feedback. I'm so glad. Thank you, Ethan. Okay. Totally different advice.
Right.
I mean, it was good what I told you, but what you need to hear is it's your life. It's your life. Your friends and family mean well.
Yep.
They've probably heard you gripe and complain a little bit. They want what's best for you. Their heart's in the right place. Their head is in completely the wrong place. And you have to decide, do I want to disappoint my friends and family, or do I want to disappoint myself?
That's a good one.
$1 million question.
That's a good way to end it. You got to answer and give 2 good pieces of advice for depending on how you're looking at it. And yeah, thanks for the question. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Dude, Ken, this was awesome. I feel like we could talk for hours. Thank you so much for being on the show. And
let's do it again. Yeah, I'm grateful, man. And just selfishly speaking, man, I'd love for you to, I don't know if you can send this whole conversation to me, but I'd love to share some of it on my social as well. I think this is the kind of
100%.
conversation
so what,
we have.
Yeah, so what I'll do is right
now.
after this, I will actually tag you in it, and you can share the whole live to your feed. And then I have somebody that will literally go in, and I don't know if you noticed, I'm trying to get better at this. It's a failure habit. I've got to figure out a better way to do it. But as I'm talking to my guests, I take notes, and I actually point out the things that I think my person should cut the good clips from. So I had some really good ones from you. So I cut those out.
That's what I want. I want what you think. I want what you think is good.
We'll cut them out, and then when they're done,
share it, man.
it might take about a month or so because they're backed up on other episodes. But then we'll tag you, and you'll get them.
Appreciate you, man. You're doing good work, dude. You're doing good work, and I want to encourage your heart as a father as well. You're in the thick of it right now, bro, and it's more physically tiring than the emotional weariness you have when you're parenting teens. So hang in there, man. You're doing good work, and you're also helping a lot of people, man, here on Instagram and everywhere else. So I'm proud to be associated with you, and hopefully we can spend more time together. And you're welcome to come hang in Nashville anytime.
I might have to take you up on that. I got a good buddy who I've been meaning to see, so I have my notes on my connections, and now we're officially friends. So I'll put that in there, and I'll hit you up when we're done.
Well, hey, if you choose to partake, there's a good bourbon and a good cigar attached to that as well.
All right, brother. Great seeing you. Thanks again, guys. Take care, everybody. All right. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate you.
That's it for the Gamify Your Habits podcast with Will Moore. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to visit moremomentum.com to learn how you can gamify your life.